Americans spend over $90 billion a year on back pain treatments, from chiropractors to injections to surgeries. Yet 65% of us still suffer from chronic pain that ruins our sleep, our focus, and our ability to play with our kids. Meanwhile, the average Japanese office worker sits for just as many hours as we do, stares at screens just as long, yet reports a fraction of the back pain. And Japan has one of the lowest rates of chronic lower back pain in the industrialized world. This isn't about having better chairs or some secret stretching routine. It's about 25 specific posture habits woven so deeply into daily life that they don't even think about them. Some of these are so simple, they'll shock you. Others are so genius, you'll wonder why no one ever told you. By the end of this video, you will have a complete blueprint to rebuild how you stand, sit, sleep, and move, using the quiet wisdom that keeps Japanese spines healthy into their 90s. Let's start the countdown with habit number 25. Number 25. They sit on the floor not just occasionally but as a default. The first time I visited a Japanese friend's apartment in Osaka, I stepped inside and immediately scanned the room for a place to collapse. There was no sofa. There was a low wooden table, a few flat cushions called zabuton, and the floor. I remember standing there, bag still on my shoulder, feeling a small panic. Where was I supposed to sit? I awkwardly folded myself down, my back screaming within minutes, my knees popping, my ankles protesting, while my friend's 70-year-old mother sat perfectly upright, legs neatly tucked, spine a straight column, utterly comfortable. She looked like she was resting on an invisible throne. I thought she must have superhuman flexibility. She didn't. She had a lifetime of practice. Sitting on the floor forces your pelvis into a neutral position. When you sink into a sofa, your pelvis tilts backward, your lower back rounds, and the small muscles along your spine go slack, shifting all the load onto your discs and ligaments. On the floor, you cannot collapse. Your core has to engage just enough to keep you upright. It's not a workout, but it is work, the kind of gentle, constant work that keeps the deep spinal muscles alive and responsive. A 2021 study from the University of Tokyo found that elderly individuals who regularly sat on the floor and stood up without using their hands had significantly stronger hip flexors, better spinal alignment, and a 34% lower incidence of lower back pain compared to those who exclusively used Western-style chairs. This isn't a flexibility trick. It's a daily workout for the deep stabilizer muscles that modern furniture has allowed to atrophy. Try this tonight. Put a cushion on the floor, sit cross-legged, and just watch one episode of a show that way. Your back will complain. That complaint is weakness leaving your body. Let it complain. Then do it again tomorrow. Number 24. They kneel, and that kneeling posture is called seiza. Seiza means correct sitting. You fold your legs underneath you, tops of the feet flat on the floor, sitting back on your heels, spine tall, hands resting on your thighs. The first time I tried seiza, I was in a traditional tea house in Kanazawa. The host gestured to the tatami, and I lowered myself down, trying to look graceful. I lasted maybe 90 seconds before my feet went numb, and my back started to ache. I shifted, I fidgeted. I watched the elderly tea master sit motionless for 20 minutes, her back a perfect vertical line, her face serene. I felt like a crumpled piece of paper next to a calligraphy scroll. But here's what I didn't understand. Seiza is not a resting position. It's an active, alert posture that trains the entire posterior chain. When you sit in seiza, your pelvis is locked into a slight anterior tilt, which is the natural curve of a healthy lumbar spine. This position lengthens the hip flexors, which in most Westerners are chronically shortened from sitting in chairs. Short hip flexors pull on the lumbar vertebrae, creating that deep, nagging lower back pain so many of us know. In Japan, children learn seiza from the time they can walk. They sit this way during meals, during ceremonies in school. By the time they're adults, their hip flexors and spinal erectors have developed imbalance. A 2018 biomechanical analysis from Kyoto University found that the seiza position distributes body weight evenly across the knees, shins, and sitting bones, creating a tripod of stability that allows the spine to stack effortlessly. If you want to try this, start with just 2 minutes on a soft surface. Do not collapse. Imagine a string pulling the crown of your head toward the ceiling. Your feet will go numb. That's normal. Your back will ache. That's your hip flexors begging for mercy. Stay with it. Your back will thank you within a week. Number 23. They bow, and bowing is a daily spinal decompression exercise disguised as a social custom. The average Japanese person bows dozens of times a day. A shallow bow to a colleague, a deeper bow to a client, a casual nod to a neighbor. Each bow is a controlled, mindful flexion and extension of the spine. But here's the key. They do not bow from the waist by collapsing the chest. They bow from the hips, keeping the back perfectly straight. This is a hip hinge, the exact movement physical therapists beg their patients to learn for lifting objects and preventing disc herniation. When you hinge at the hips with a flat back, you decompress the posterior side of your vertebral discs and engage your glutes and hamstrings. When you collapse from the waist with a rounded back, you compress the front of your discs and strain the ligaments. I started incorporating a few slow, deliberate hip hinge bows into my morning routine. Hands sliding down the front of my thighs, back straight. Stopping when my torso was parallel to the floor, then rising with control. I would do this 5 times every morning before my coffee. The first few days, I felt a pulling sensation in my hamstrings that bordered on painful. Within 2 weeks, the morning stiffness I had accepted as normal for a decade simply vanished. I would swing my legs out of bed and brace for the familiar ache, and it wasn't there. A 2019 study from Waseda University examining the biomechanics of ojigi, the formal bow, found that the motion creates a gentle traction force along the lumbar spine, increasing the space between vertebrae temporarily, which may explain why regular practitioners show healthier disc height in old age. Bowing is not submission. It is spinal maintenance. Number 22. They wear shoes that respect the foot and everything starts from the ground. This was the habit that made me the angriest, because it was so obvious I had been ignoring it. Walk through any Tokyo subway station and look at feet. You'll see flat, wide, flexible shoes with minimal heel drop, and a wide toe box that lets the toes spread naturally. You will almost never see a Japanese person in a thick, elevated, narrow running shoe just for walking around, and you will certainly never see them wear shoes inside the house. Modern Western footwear, especially the kind with a raised heel and arch support, tilts the entire skeleton forward. That elevated heel pitches your body weight onto the balls of your feet, which forces your pelvis to tilt anteriorly, which increases the curve in your lower back, which compresses the facet joints of your lumbar spine. All day, every step, I looked down at my own feet on that Tokyo subway and felt a wave of embarrassment. I was wearing thick-soled sneakers with a 2-inch heel drop. My toes crammed into a narrow toe box, my feet essentially cast in foam coffins. A 2020 study from Keio University compared gait patterns in individuals wearing minimalist shoes versus conventional cushioned shoes, and found that the minimalist group had significantly less anterior pelvic tilt, reduced lumbar lordosis, and lower reported back pain scores over a 6-month period. When I swapped my thick-soled sneakers for a flat, zero-drop shoe with a wide toe box, my lower back pain dropped by what felt like 70% within the first 3 days. My feet were sore, yes, because muscles I had never used were waking up. The arch of my foot ached. My calves felt tight, but my back felt liberated. It was as if someone had removed a heavy pack I didn't know I was carrying. Number 21. They remove their shoes at the door, and this is not just about cleanliness. The jenkin, the sunken entryway of a Japanese home, is a sacred boundary. The first time I stepped into a Japanese home, I almost walked right past it with my shoes on, and my friend gently but firmly blocked me. "Shoes," she said, pointing at the jenkin. I felt a flush of embarrassment. I stepped out of my shoes, placed them neatly side by side, and stepped up onto the polished wood floor. The moment you step up from the jenkin into the home, your feet meet a different surface. Tatami mats, soft wood heated floors. Your bare feet or socks now have to grip, balance, and adjust to a slightly uneven, textured surface. This constant micro-adjustment activates the intrinsic muscles of the foot, the tiny stabilizers that modern shoes have rendered dormant. When these foot muscles are weak, the arch collapses, the ankle rolls inward, the knee tracks poorly, and the pelvis tilts, sending a cascade of misalignment right up to the neck. Walking barefoot on tatami is like a gentle, all-day physical therapy session for your feet. I installed a simple shoe rack by my front door and made a strict no-shoes policy. At first, my feet felt tired by evening. I could feel the individual bones in my feet moving against each other in a way I had never noticed. After a month, I noticed my balance had improved dramatically, and the chronic tightness in my hip flexors had eased. A 2017 study from the Tokyo University of Science found that elderly individuals who regularly walked barefoot on natural surfaces had higher foot muscle strength and better postural stability than those who always wore supportive footwear indoors. The jenkin is not just a cultural quirk. It's your first line of defense against back pain. Number 20. They sleep on the floor on a futon, not a towering mattress. The Japanese futon is a thin, firm mattress, maybe 3 inches thick, laid directly on tatami mats and folded up and put away every single morning. There is no box spring, there is no pillow top, there is no memory foam. When you lie on a Western mattress, especially a soft one, your heavier areas, your hips and shoulders, sink in. Your spine curves into a banana shape for 8 hours. Your muscles, which should be resting, are instead fighting to keep you from folding in half. On a firm futon, your body is fully supported at every point. Your spine stays neutral, your hips and shoulders cannot sink. I bought a traditional Japanese futon and slept on it for 30 nights as an experiment. The first 3 nights were brutal. My hip bones felt bruised. I woke up at 3 a.m., turned onto my other side, and felt the same bruising pressure. I almost gave up, but on the 4th night something shifted. I woke up without the usual lower back stiffness. By night 10, my chronic shoulder tightness had diminished. By night 20, I was sleeping more deeply than I had in years. A 2022 sleep study from Hiroshima University comparing spinal alignment on different sleep surfaces found that a firm floor-based mattress resulted in the most neutral spinal curvature and the lowest pressure points, particularly for back sleepers. The act of folding the futon every morning also forces a deep squat and a forward bend, a gentle morning mobility routine built into the very structure of the bed. You wake up, you fold your bed, and in doing so, you move your spine through a range it desperately needs. Number 19. They squat deeply and daily, and this is a posture most Western adults have completely lost. Watch a Japanese grandmother tend her garden, or a child wait for a bus. They drop into a full, flat-footed squat, heels down but nearly touching the ground, and they stay there comfortable for minutes. This position, called the Asian squat or the resting squat, opens the hips, lengthens the lower back, and strengthens the entire posterior chain. When you lose the ability to squat, your ankles stiffen, your hip flexors shorten, and your lower back has to round every time you bend over to pick something up, which is exactly how discs herniate. I could not do this squat when I started. I tried in my living room, holding onto the edge of my couch, and my heels lifted immediately. My back rounded, I fell backward onto the floor. It felt impossible. It took me 3 months of daily practice, holding onto a door frame to get my heels down. I would squat for 30 seconds, then 45, then a minute. Now I squat multiple times a day, to tie my shoes, to pick up a dropped pen, to pet my dog. My back has never been stronger. A 2016 study from the Hara Medical University found that individuals who could perform a full resting squat had significantly lower rates of lumbar disc degeneration and greater hip mobility than those who could not. This is not an exercise. This is a resting position your body was designed to hold, and reclaiming it is one of the most powerful things you can do for your spine. Number 18. They carry their children on their backs, not on their hips. Walk through a park in Kyoto, and you'll see mothers and fathers with toddlers strapped to their backs in a carrier called an onbuhimo. The child sits high on the back, close to the carrier's center of gravity. When you carry a child on your hip, your pelvis hikes up on one side, your spine curves laterally, your shoulder drops, and you create a scoliotic pattern that you repeat thousands of times a year. Your body adapts to this asymmetry, and the chronic muscle imbalance shows up as back pain on the opposite side. Carrying on the back, with the load centered and high, allows the spine to remain stacked and neutral. The carrier's shoulders naturally draw back to create a shelf, which counteracts the forward slumped posture of modern life. I don't have children, but I started wearing a weighted backpack on my morning walks, keeping it high and tight to mimic this centered load. I filled it with books, strapped it snug against my upper back, and walked. The difference in how my back felt after a 30-minute walk with a centered back load versus a shoulder-slung bag was immediate and profound. With the shoulder bag, I felt twisted and lopsided. With the centered backpack, I felt balanced and strong. A 2019 ergonomics study from the University of Shizuoka found that back carrying significantly reduced lateral spinal deviation and muscle activation asymmetry compared to hip carrying. The onbuhimo is not just a cultural tradition. It's a tool that preserves the mother's spine. Number 17. They practice Hara breathing, breathing into the belly, not the chest. Hara is the Japanese word for the belly, the center of the body, the seat of physical and spiritual power. Watch a Japanese person breathe when they are relaxed. Their belly expands, not their chest. Their shoulders do not rise. This is diaphragmatic breathing, and it is the foundation of a stable spine. When you breathe shallowly into your chest, you engage accessory muscles in your neck and shoulders, pulling your rib cage up and forward, which extends your upper back and compresses your lower back. Do that 20,000 times a day, and you have a recipe for chronic tension. When you breathe into your Hara, your diaphragm descends, your pelvic floor relaxes, and your deep core muscles, the transverse abdominis, engage gently with each exhale. This creates a natural internal corset that stabilizes your lumbar spine. I set a reminder on my phone for every hour, and when it buzzed, I would place a hand on my belly and take 5 slow breaths, feeling my hand rise with the inhale and fall with the exhale, keeping my chest still. The first few days, it felt unnatural, like I was forcing my belly to move. After 2 weeks, I noticed my resting shoulder position had dropped by what felt like an inch. My neck felt longer, my jaw felt looser. A 2020 study from the Osaka University of Health and Sports Sciences found that a 4-week diaphragmatic breathing intervention significantly reduced chronic lower back pain and improved lumbar stability in office workers. Your breath is the first and last posture habit of your life. Make it a deep one. Number 16. They walk with short, quick strides, not long, lunging gaits. The average Japanese person walks with a stride length significantly shorter than the average American. They take more steps per minute. Their feet land almost directly under their center of mass, and their arms swing compactly. A long stride, the kind we associate with walking with purpose, is actually a controlled fall. You land on your heel with your leg extended far in front of your body, which sends a jarring impact up through your knee, into your hip, and straight into your lower back. A short stride keeps your center of gravity stable. Your foot lands closer to your body. Your knee is slightly bent to absorb shock, and your glutes engage to push you forward rather than your hip flexors yanking your leg ahead. I started consciously shortening my stride on my daily walks, taking quicker, lighter steps. I felt silly at first, like I was shuffling. I imagined I looked like an old man in a hurry, but after a week, my lower back stopped aching after long walks. I could walk for an hour and feel nothing but a pleasant warmth in my legs. A 2018 gait analysis from Nagoya University found that a shorter stride length reduced ground reaction forces by up to 28% and significantly decreased the load on the lumbar spine during walking. Walk like you are gliding, not like you are fleeing. Number 15. They stand with their weight evenly distributed on both feet, not cocked to one hip. This is the habit that exposed my own vanity. I used to stand with one knee locked, my hip jutted out to the side, thinking it looked casual and relaxed. In reality, I was compressing one side of my lumbar spine and stretching the other, creating a lateral pelvic tilt that my muscles had to fight against all day. In Japan, standing posture is taught formally. Feet hip-width apart, weight evenly spread across the soles of both feet, knees soft, pelvis neutral, shoulders relaxed. This is not a military stiffness. It's an effortless stacking of the skeleton. When your weight is even, the large muscles of your legs and glutes share the load of holding you upright. When you shift to one hip, you hang on the ligaments of your hip joint and the small muscles of your lower back, exhausting them. I stood in front of a mirror and saw my hip jutting out, a habit I had no idea I had. I looked like a question mark. I spent a month catching myself, recentering my weight, softening my knees. Every time I caught myself leaning, I would reset. The chronic tightness in my right quadratus lumborum, a muscle deep in my lower back, faded away. A 2017 postural study from the Tokyo Medical and Dental University found that asymmetric standing was a significant predictor of chronic lower back pain in adults, independent of age and activity level. Stand like a mountain, not a leaning tree. Number 14. They practice radio Taiso, the morning exercise ritual performed by millions. If you are in Japan at 6:30 a.m., you will see groups of people in parks, in schoolyards, outside offices, all moving in unison to a simple piano melody broadcast on national radio. Radio Taiso is a 3-minute sequence of gentle calisthenics, arm circles, side bends, forward folds, twists, that has been performed daily since 1928. It is not intense. It is not a workout. It is a systematic lubrication of every joint in the body. The sequence takes the spine through flexion, extension, lateral flexion, and rotation, the 4 fundamental movements of a healthy back. Most Westerners go from bed to chair to car to chair, without ever moving their spine through its full range of motion. Radio Taiso does it in 180 seconds. I found the routine on YouTube and did it every morning for a month. The first few days I felt creaky. My spine made sounds I had never heard. By day 10, I was moving more fluidly. By day 30, I craved it. I would wake up and my body would want to move through that sequence. A 2021 study from the University of Tsukuba found that daily radio Taiso practice improved spinal flexibility and reduced morning back stiffness in middle-aged and elderly participants. It is the simplest possible entry point into a pain-free back, and it costs nothing. Number 13. They do not slouch in chairs because they barely use chairs with backs. In many traditional Japanese settings, the chair is a backless stool or a simple wooden seat. You cannot slouch because there is nothing to slouch against. Your back muscles must do their job. In Western offices, we collapse into our chairs, letting the chair back hold us up. Our postural muscles, the erector spinae, the multifidus, switch off. Over years, they atrophy. Then, when we stand, we ask these weak muscles to support a spine they have forgotten how to hold. Sitting on a backless surface forces you to find your own vertical alignment. Your pelvis becomes your base, your spine stacks upward, and your core gently engages. I swapped my office chair for a simple wooden stool for 2 hours a day. The first week, I was exhausted. My back muscles ached like I had done a workout. I would stand up after an hour and feel a deep fatigue in the muscles along my spine. By the end of the month, my posture while standing had improved without me consciously trying. I would catch my reflection in a window and notice my shoulders were back, my head was high, and I hadn't told my body to do any of it. A 2019 study from the Chiba Institute of Technology found that sitting on a backless surface increased activation of the lumbar multifidus muscle by over 40%, compared to sitting in a standard office chair. Your chair back is a crutch, and your spine has forgotten how to walk without it. Number 12. They perform a daily deep forward fold, and it's baked into how they clean. In Japanese homes, cleaning is done on hands and knees. Floors are wiped with a damp cloth, not pushed with a long-handled mop. This motion, crouching, reaching forward, pulling back, is a dynamic stretch for the entire posterior chain. The hamstrings lengthen, the lower back decompresses, and the shoulders open. I started cleaning my kitchen floor on my hands and knees once a week. The first time, I could barely reach my arm fully forward without my lower back rounding. My hamstrings screamed, but the motion itself, repeated across the floor, became a moving meditation. I would breathe, reach, pull back, slide over, repeat. My hamstrings loosened, my back felt spacious, and my floor was spotless. A 2018 study from the Kyoto Institute of Technology examined the biomechanics of floor-based cleaning and found that it required a greater range of motion in the hips and spine than upright cleaning, potentially contributing to the flexibility seen in elderly Japanese individuals. Turn your cleaning into your therapy. Your back and your kitchen will both be better for it. Number 11. They use a small, firm pillow that supports the neck, not a fluffy cloud. The traditional Japanese pillow, the makura, is often filled with buckwheat hulls or beans. It is small, it is firm, and it cradles the neck without lifting the head too high. When you sleep on a thick, soft pillow, your head is pushed forward and upward, flexing your neck and misaligning your cervical spine with your thoracic spine. This forward head posture is one of the most common postural deformities in the West, and for every inch your head shifts forward, the effective weight on your neck and upper back muscles increases by roughly 10 pounds. The makura keeps your head in line with your spine, whether you sleep on your back or side. I bought a buckwheat pillow, and the first night felt like sleeping on a bag of rocks. I lay there, head cradled in what felt like gravel, and wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. But I woke up without the usual neck crick. By night 4, I was sleeping more deeply. My forward head posture, which I had tried to fix with years of chin tucks, began to improve simply because my neck was no longer fighting my pillow for 8 hours. A 2020 study from the Showa University School of Medicine found that a firm, contoured pillow improved cervical spine alignment during sleep and reduced morning neck pain compared to a standard soft pillow. Your pillow should support your neck, not your vanity. Number 10. They practice the art of standing up without using their hands, and they do it into their 90s. Watch an elderly Japanese person rise from the floor. They plant their feet, lean forward, and use the strength of their legs and core to lift themselves up in one fluid motion. No hands on the ground, no grabbing furniture. This movement, a full bodyweight squat to stand, is a fundamental test of functional strength, and it is a movement most Westerners lose by middle age. When you need your hands to push yourself up, you are compensating for weak glutes, weak quads, and a weak core, and that weakness translates directly to your back having to do work it was never designed to do. I started practicing this every morning. Sit on the floor, cross-legged, and then stand up without touching anything. The first time, I rolled onto my knees and pushed up with my hands. I looked like a toddler learning to walk. It took me 6 weeks to do it smoothly. Now it's my daily litmus test. If I can stand up fluidly, my body is aligned and strong. If I struggle, I know I have been neglecting my foundation. A 2016 study from the Kyoto University Graduate School of Medicine famously found that the ability to sit and rise from the floor without using hands was a powerful predictor of all-cause mortality. This is not just about back pain. This is about your capacity to live. Number 9. They hold their phones at eye level, not in their laps. Walk through any Western city and you'll see a sea of bent necks, chins on chests, hands holding phones at waist level. This is text neck, and it is an epidemic. The human head weighs about 11 pounds. When you tilt it forward 45 degrees to look at your phone, the effective force on your cervical spine jumps to nearly 50 pounds. Your neck muscles, your upper back, your shoulders, they all have to contract to hold that weight, and they do it for hours every day. In Japan, you see a different posture. People hold their phones up higher, closer to eye level. Their neck stays long, their chin stays tucked. I started consciously raising my phone every time I looked at it. My arm got tired, yes, especially at first. I would switch hands, shake out my arm, and keep going. But my neck and upper back, which had been a solid knot of tension for years, began to release. The constant dull ache at the base of my skull faded. A 2019 study from the Tokyo University of Science found that holding a mobile device at chest level or below increased cervical spine loading by up to 60%, compared to holding it at eye level. Lift your phone. Your neck is not a crane designed to hold a bowling ball at an angle. Number 8. They sit in a cross-legged position that opens the hips, and they call it agura. Agura is the casual, cross-legged sitting posture you see in informal settings, on the floor, on a cushion. Unlike sitting in a chair, where your hips are flexed to 90 degrees and locked in internal rotation, agura opens the hips into external rotation. This stretches the inner thighs, releases the deep hip rotators, and encourages the pelvis to settle into a neutral position. Tight hips are one of the primary drivers of lower back pain. When your hip flexors and rotators are tight, they pull on the pelvis, flattening the natural curve of the lumbar spine and forcing the back muscles to work overtime. I started sitting in agura on the floor for 10 minutes every evening. At first, my knees were up by my ears. I looked like a grasshopper. Over months, they dropped lower. My hips felt looser, my lower back felt freer, and I began to notice a new ease in my walking stride. A 2018 study from the Juntendo University School of Medicine found that regular floor sitting in cross-legged postures was associated with greater hip range of motion and lower, reported back pain in a cohort of Japanese adults. The ground is not your enemy. The chair is. Number 7. They practice a posture of mindful stillness, not constant fidgeting. In Japanese culture, stillness is valued. In a business meeting, in a tea ceremony, at a meal, there are moments where everyone is simply still. Spine tall, hands quiet, breathing calm. In the West, we fidget. We cross and uncross our legs, we shift our weight, we tap our fingers, we twirl our pens. This constant micro-movement is a sign of a restless nervous system and unstable posture. True stillness requires a skeleton that is aligned and balanced. When your bones are stacked properly, your muscles don't need to constantly adjust. You can sit still without effort. I started practicing 1 minute of absolute stillness every morning. sitting on a cushion, hands on my thighs, not moving a single muscle. The first week I felt an almost unbearable urge to shift. My nose itched. My foot wanted to tap. My brain screamed at me to move. By the end of the month, that minute felt like a deep rest. My posture had found its true center. A 2017 study from the University of Tokyo found that individuals who could maintain a stable, still sitting posture had significantly higher activation of the deep spinal stabilizers and lower reported levels of chronic pain. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the sign of a spine at peace. Number 6. They walk on uneven, natural surfaces that challenge balance. Japanese gardens, temple paths, and even many neighborhood streets feature stepping stones, gravel, and textured ground. Walking on these surfaces requires constant micro-adjustments from the ankles, knees, hips, and core. This is balance training, and balance is the ultimate expression of a healthy spine. When you walk only on flat, paved sidewalks and smooth floors, the small stabilizer muscles that protect your back from sudden movements are never called into action. They weaken. Then one day you step off a curb wrong and your back seizes because it had no resilience. I started walking on a gravel path in a park near my house instead of the paved loop. My ankles felt wobbly, my core felt engaged, and after a month my overall sense of bodily stability had improved. I felt more grounded, more sure-footed. A 2020 study from the University of Tsukuba found that regular walking on uneven surfaces improved dynamic balance and reduced the incidence of lower back pain in older adults. Seek out the uneven ground. It is a training ground for a resilient spine. Number 5. They eat at low tables, which forces a gentle, repeated squat and floor sit multiple times a day. The traditional Japanese meal is eaten at a low table while seated on the floor. To eat, you must lower yourself to the ground and then rise again. Multiple times a day, every day for a lifetime. This is not a workout, it's just life. But the cumulative effect on hip mobility, leg strength, and spinal flexibility is enormous. In the West, we sit on raised chairs at raised tables. We never have to lower ourselves to the ground. We lose the ability. I started eating one meal a day sitting on the floor at my coffee table. Getting down and getting up was awkward. My cat stared at me. But within weeks, the movement became fluid. My hips felt younger. A 2019 study from the Nagasaki University School of Medicine found that the ability to rise from the floor without support was closely correlated with lower back health and overall mobility in aging populations. The simple act of eating closer to the earth can save your spine. Number 4. They do not overarch or puff out their chests in a forced military posture. The Japanese ideal of good posture is not chest out, shoulders back, chin up. That posture, often taught in the West, creates tension in the upper back, compresses the lower back, and is unsustainable. The Japanese ideal is a relaxed, neutral spine. Shoulders are down and slightly forward, not pinned back. The chest is soft. The chin is gently tucked. This is the posture of a martial artist, coiled and ready, not a soldier at attention. When I stopped forcing my shoulders back and let them settle into their natural position, the chronic ache between my shoulder blades disappeared. I had spent years pulling my shoulders back, thinking I was fixing my posture, and all I was doing was creating tension. A 2018 postural analysis from the Tokyo University of the Arts found that a relaxed, neutral shoulder position resulted in lower muscle activation in the upper trapezius and less spinal compression than a forced retracted shoulder posture. Good posture should feel like nothing. It should be the place your body returns to when you stop trying. Number 3. They use a small towel roll under their lower back during rest, not a lumbar support pillow. In many Japanese homes, you'll see someone lying on the floor with a small, tightly rolled towel placed horizontally under their lower back. just above the hips. This is a passive spinal decompression. The gentle pressure of the towel encourages the lumbar spine to settle back into its natural curve, the curve that, sitting in chairs, has flattened out. I started doing this for 10 minutes before bed. I would lie on the floor, knees bent, feet flat, a rolled towel under my lower back, and just breathe. The first few times, I felt a deep, dull ache as my spine released. It was the ache of something tight finally letting go. By the end of the first week, I was standing taller. A 2017 study from the Taiso University School of Medicine found that passive lumbar extension using a towel roll improved lumbar lordosis and reduced chronic lower back pain in a group of sedentary workers. This is so simple it feels like it shouldn't work. It works. Number 2, they practice the art of inamuri, the brief upright nap. Inamuri, sleeping while present, is the Japanese practice of dozing off in public. On a train, in a meeting, while remaining upright. What you notice is that people practicing inamuri do not slump. Their heads may nod, but their spines remain remarkably straight. This is because they have spent a lifetime building the postural endurance to hold their spine upright, even as consciousness fades. This postural endurance is the ultimate goal. It's not about holding a perfect posture for 10 minutes. It's about your spine naturally holding its shape, because the muscles and ligaments are conditioned to do so. I can't recommend napping in meetings, but I can recommend building your postural endurance minute by minute, day by day, until a straight spine is your default state, not a conscious effort. A 2016 study from the Osaka University Graduate School of Medicine found that individuals with higher postural endurance, measured by their ability to maintain a neutral spine under fatigue, had significantly lower rates of back pain. Build your endurance. The goal is not to hold your spine up. The goal is for your spine to hold itself up. Number 1, the most important Japanese posture habit of all. They do not separate posture from life. Posture is not a thing they think about. It's not a correction they make. It's not a class they take. Posture is simply the shape their body has taken from a lifetime of living in a way that demands it. They sit on the floor, so their hips are open. They sleep on a futon, so their spine is supported. They bow so their back hinges. They walk on uneven ground so their balance is sharp. They remove their shoes so their feet are strong. They breathe into their belly so their core is stable. There is no single trick. There is no quick fix. There is a web of habits, each one reinforcing the others, that together create a body that stands, sits, and moves without pain. You can start anywhere. Pick one habit from this list, just one. Try it today. Sit on the floor for 10 minutes. Take your shoes off at the door. Hold your phone higher. Do a single radio Taiso routine. Your back is not broken. It's just been living in a world that forgot how to support it. You can build a new world for your spine, one small, ancient, Japanese habit at a time.